How old's your brother?
32.
Oh, wow.
Runs a plumbing company, and it's funny. He's the most successful out of all of us. It's nuts.
Bro, plumbers make money.
They do. He's got a lot of trucks on the road, so.
Yeah, plumbers.
He's a plumber?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do make good money.
I am incompetent with using my hands to fix stuff in the house. Like I fixed the vacuum a month ago, and my mom, like, she was almost gonna cry. She's like, "You fixed the vacuum?" I was like, "Yeah, I like put my mind to it. I watched the YouTube video." But other than that, bro, I'm not good.
I was gonna say, if you're not good with your hands like that, YouTube saves you a ton of money. I had a guy come in. I have a forced air heating air conditioning system. And there was a point when it kept shutting off. So in the middle of the winter, I'm like freezing, right? It's not that cold out here, but it gets cold in LA. And I'm like, why is this thing shutting off? And I'm looking at it. It's a very simple device. I'm like, there's got to be an easy way to fix it. Couldn't figure it out. Got the guy in, and he gives me, he goes there 5 minutes later. He comes back and he goes, there's $2,500 to fix. I was like, oh, that's a bullshit thing. I said, I'll give you a call. So I looked it up. I found a guy online who was able to tell me what that error code was. And it was literally unscrewing a switch, like a sensor, and resetting it. It was a button press. So $2,500 or a button press. And I mean, I'm pretty good with my hands too. Like, I build shit around the house. I've always been around tools, but you got to be able to do that stuff, dude. If the four of us are ever on our way to Vegas and or some place in like an exotic island and the plane crashes, like, what good are you going to be on a deserted island?
I will create a great analyses of the pros and cons of what our options are and debate it out.
Yeah, that sounds like you're gonna get thrown off the island, or you're gonna get eaten first.
Bro, this idea, first of all, it's very patriarchal and sexist to assume the man needs to be like the handy dude, right? Like, isn't that an old stereotype? Like, I can be the feminine kind of talker.
So you're gonna expect your wife to go out and fix the lawnmower or like the leaf blower brakes?
No, I'm gonna expect
on the roof and clean the solar
me to have enough financial security to pay someone to do that.
To pay a man.
I don't get it's a man.
You're gonna pay some dude.
Yeah.
Look, at the end of the day, like when the shit really hits the fan, right? If we have like a global apocalypse, like, people kind of fall into the gender roles, right? They're gonna expect you to go out and fight and provide, and women are gonna expect to be doing other things. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's like it's a luxury that we have in today's society. That's not.
My dad's the opposite. My dad will fix anything in the house, bro.
Yeah.
But that's also why my dad for the past 30 years has had a very handy job. He's made his money doing shit with his hands.
Yeah, that's why he's banging your mom. Your mom is like, I recognize value in.
Well, my life, I'm just saying, my life has been so different because everything's been so intellectual for me. As stupid as that sounds, that debate, YouTube, all that stuff, communication. And my dad's the opposite. My dad doesn't give a fuck about philosophical debates, bro. My dad is just like, how do we fucking fix the light bulb? Like, that's it. So it's so different.
You know what? Honestly, I'm so much with you, Amit, and it's crazy how much of the chat is against you. Like, a bunch of people are going,
oh, wait, what are they saying in the chat? Amit, okay,
well,
Amit,
they're
be a man.
like,
Amit, be a man.
Be a man.
Yeah, Chris Patel, Amit's definitely getting eaten first. Absolutely. We're gonna make some Amit curry. Make some curry. Look, I want a handy, dominant, masculine man. There's nothing wrong with that. Tanner,
no, I'm doing what Amit's gonna do. And you know what? I disagree with the idea that you're gonna save money by doing everything yourself. I mean, if you have an hourly rate, you have to think about it like, I'd rather pay someone something. If I can make it back in an hour, let's just sit at the computer and I'll make that money back, and I'll
That's facts, bro. Why do I stress about it?
Here's the counter that. The counter that is, you don't have the base to even negotiate with some of these guys. Like, if they come to your house and they charge you, you don't have a base of knowledge to know what they're really charging you.
But
for.
See, if Palantir goes to the moon, I'm not gonna have to worry about that.
If Vitaly was on that podcast, he could tell you how much money like we save, because he'll go and do something himself that somebody, you don't have to pay somebody to go do. And I know just from my own house.
Do it yourself. It's just me and Tanner, I feel like, are incompetent and we can't do it ourselves. That's
you totally could.
It's the new way.
You need a man to teach you how to do it. Yeah, pay FUD.
Pay FUD book.
There you go.
FUD is FUD could definitely do it. All I know is the dude I pay to come do work in. Yeah, it's like
Vitaly will be here shortly. Salva Vitaly will be here shortly.
Chris is gone. Tanner's replaced him officially. So
yeah, Junkie's getting taken out this week. This week's been tough, man. But the Tanner answered the call. The bat signal went up, and he was just like,
"Do you guys know when I got this call? Do you guys know when I got the call to be on this podcast?"
I saw him texting you.
Yeah, it was like 9:59. He goes, "You free?" I was like, Yeah, I'm just sitting here listening like, hey there, Delilah. I was like, all right, I'll go on a podcast.
wait, hold on. I have so many questions on this. But first of all, hold on. I got to show.
Yeah, Swimmer just went there, bro. Swimmer's saying you're getting all cucked.
Okay, hold on. So first of all, on Tanner's point, I texted him on Monday. I said at 8:46 p.m. I said, yo, if you're free again tonight, we need a fourth. He's like, when? Are you talking about in 5 minutes? Because he thought the pod was happening at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
He says, I can be available, but wow, you're quick. I said, no, 10 p.m. I'll send the link. Haha. Wouldn't have done it literally 2 minutes before. Then today, 9:58 p.m. 2 minutes. I'm like, yo, are you free tonight? I know it's late,
2 minutes before.
Well, what happened last time is that I go from this house and then I go to my family's a lot. So it's whenever I have the beige background, I'm in a completely different house that's like 30 minutes away. So whenever you had called me at 9, I was at this house, my house, and then I was like, oh, okay, well, I need to go over there tonight. And so it was kind of in between. So it was kind of weird. But anyway.
But you answered in like a minute. So you made your decision. You were like, yeah, I'll do the pod.
Hell yeah, man.
That was nice. That was awesome. I love it.
I love these chats.
Okay. So before we get going on the topic of this, like, I don't know if anyone's been following me on Twitter. I started some war. I got in the middle of this debate thing that was happening with Joe Rogan and what's his name, Peter.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I was really early in responding to some of the stuff, and so some of my tweets just started getting a lot of attention and a lot of response, to the point where there was a New York Times article that was written that a lot of people were citing as the reason why he shouldn't debate Robert Kennedy, and I responded to it, not realizing that the writer of that article, the New York Times guy, he read it, and so it started another war. Anyway, went back and forth. The guy blocked me. It's what it is.
Oh, that's great. Civil discourse, right? Fucking
civil discourse, right? But the what I was hearing from them, and I even mentioned your name. So there's some people in here in the chat. I see. Who was it that was really coming at me? What's his name? Where are you? Where are you hiding? No.
Is it still snowing in Canada?
Brad and I were going back and forth. Brad Novak there at 704.
Brad. I know Brad. He's cool.
He's a cool dude. Listen, he's a cool dude. And he weighed in on some of, he disagrees with me on some of the stuff. And then that sparked another conversation. But yeah, take a moment of silence for that swimmer shark. That's a low blow. That's a holding. That's a 15-yard penalty. But I even cited you. I said, look, their whole thing was debates are not a good format to get to some objective truth. That what it becomes is inevitably whoever is the best debater can win an argument, even if their argument is weaker. My comeback to that was, in a philosophical debate, that could work. If we're debating the existence of God, or if we're debating whether we should go to Mars, right? I could probably make a better argument than someone else, even if their case might be better, right? But with something like this, where we're talking about
science,
health,
facts,
the health, the science, and having really clear scientific data along with hours of video on news broadcasts, the ability to sort of cheat or talk your way to a debate victory is virtually zero. And I got a ton of pushback. And I said, Amit is a debate champion. It's not from him feeling confident or being able to talk his way through anything. It's more about being really knowledgeable in the subject, A, and B, the combination of being able to articulate that well. B. Those are the two things that I would say make you successful. So before we get started, I just wanted to ask that to you and pose that to you, because I know Brad's watching. Look, he's saying right there, the people who watch debates just want to see a pounding.
So let me give a take on this. Is a great topic, actually, and then we'll get into the finance stuff. I think this Peter guy, and let's see what people say in the chat. You know, it's 10 minutes in, we'll spend 10 minutes on this, then we'll get into finance stuff. I think this Peter guy, I've watched some interviews of him over the past couple of days because I'm very curious about someone who will publicly assert something but then not defend it, especially this is not a gotcha segment on Fox or CNN. This is 4 hours Joe Rogan's ready to do, right? To really hear out perspectives.
Long form. Yeah.
And by the way, some of the shit RFJ Kennedy has said, quite frankly, some of it's kind of kooky, right? So it should be easy.
Exactly. I agree with you.
So if someone runs away from the debate, by the way, this guy's been debating.
Love you too, Brad. Love you too. He defended me, actually. He defended me. Somebody came at me hard and he defended me. So I appreciate you, man.
The guy's been debating for the past 10 years. He's been running these vaccine initiatives for a very long time, or the V word, so YouTube doesn't kill us.
We're done. That's it. Sorry. Nice knowing you guys. See you on the new channel.
I don't think that actually is the case anymore. I think you're.
Are you sure? We're good. We can say it.
Let's just call it the jab.
My thing is, here's my quick take. The guy's been arguing for years. RFK obviously has an opinion. If that's the case, there is a worldwide stage with millions of dollars ready to go to charity just to debate it out. Now, I listened to Peter today, and he was like, Well, I was on the phone with RFK back in 2017 because RFK was on some vaccine commission, so they started talking back and forth. And they've been debating for years. And he's like, RFK doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm like, okay, if that's true, there is literally zero reason I can imagine to not have a stage of millions of people listening to you decimate this guy on the science. Because his point on CBS today was like, I cite studies. Robert can't answer my studies. I'm like, do that on Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan doesn't have a bias. He just wants a good debate.
Yeah.
And
my other point was, if you don't debate him, then the next time we'll see him debate is when it's against Biden. Would you rather him debate Biden on this? Or if you're actually right and you smash this guy, he could single-handedly end his presidential campaign if he smashes him, right? And it's also something where a global team of scientists, right, will weigh in on this. Politicians and journalists outside of the country that are free of like American politics too will be able to weigh in. And the other thing too is the scientific community. Look, my sister's a scientist. I helped her for 10 years with her PhD. It is so hard to get a PhD. Anyone in the chat, it's virtually impossible to get a PhD. The defense of a PhD is so, even for me as sitting in the audience, is so like just nail biting. But they are subject to the highest levels of scrutiny and the highest standard of proof. And so it just seems to me like a no-brainer, right? If the facts are on your side, this is shooting fish in a barrel.
And the guy goes on every media show under the sun, tweeting all day. And I'm like, if you want this attention, if you're like, oh, this is bringing negative attention, I don't even want to engage in this, it's all conspiracy lunacy, stop tweeting. Stop going on MSNBC and all this. Like stop bringing attention to it. If you're like, this is just bullshit, I'm not paying attention. He wants the attention, and he's not willing to do the debate, which is so weird. And I watched the clip on him on CNN today. I swear, like 3 times in a row, after every 2 minutes, the guy mentions he has a book. And like the first time I was like, okay, he has a book. The second time he's like, well, I cite all these studies in my book. Rachel didn't get autism because of vaccines. Some book he wrote about his daughter. Then he says it again. But the third time I'm like, yo, are you trying to fucking sell me on this book right now, bro? What's going on? Like,
I wasn't even aware of that. And I wouldn't have assumed that, right? But there's
I didn't assume that either, because the guy seems knowledgeable. But then I hear the clip and he's just talking about his book, and I'm just like, this is ridiculous. There's something underneath the sun for you to not want to debate if you're this public. If he was a silent guy, he's afraid of the spotlight, whatever. This guy loves talking. Now you just don't want to do it on a big stage in front of someone who probably doesn't even have the science right. In my opinion, given how I've heard of RFK, I don't know every claim, but some of the shit he said is like weird.
But that's fine. Put him to task. I mean, and part of my argument when I was talking with Brad is like, because he's like, well, you know, why debates aren't debates don't ever get to the truth. And I'm like, we literally do that every day on this podcast. Like, I'll come up with a thesis, I'll present it to you guys. Tanner will come up with a point. You'll come up with a point. Vitaly will come up with a point.
Debates are the fabric of democracy.
Exactly. I mean, this literally happened last night. It was the debate on whether or not put options are a better strategy to hedge in a down market versus selling call options. We go back and forth. Vitaly makes his point. Chris makes his point. They're each going to continue doing what they do, and then the chat can weigh in on, you know, the chat can weigh in on what they see. I just think that that's how we get smarter as a
yeah, that's right,
as a collective.
Yeah, and I find it definitely adds another layer whenever there was so much money going to charity. You know what I mean? So as to go on and even to make a fool of yourself for 3 hours for $1.3 million or whatever it got to for charity.
2.6.
Well, think of all the books this guy would sell, even if he gets destroyed in the debate. Joe Rogan gets like 30 million people.
Yeah,
like that's a. It just makes, I think there's someone behind the scenes telling him not to do this debate for whatever reason. And
well, it's obvious. I mean, I think he would get absolutely smashed. That's what I think it is. And so the conversation is becoming more about the nature of debate, or that it's going to be biased. But I'm like, look, how could this is not a UFC match, right? If you put them in a
Rogan's not like that. He's not like that.
He's not like that. But people cite some people cite some podcasts of his early on in his career where he was a bit more attack dog. But what I did say was, this is different because we do have hours of interviews with him and Peter, and hours of interviews with him with RFK. And so my point is there anything you saw in either one of those interviews that makes you think it would be biased? And the other thing is, okay, take Joe Rogan out of it and put Lex Friedman in there, right? Just put Lex Friedman in there. So
Joe and Lex have no political agendas. Joe got paid by Spotify. Lex literally does not care about anything.
He doesn't care about anything except like
about love, right?
Yeah, about love. What's the hug, everybody? So anyway,
all right, that's a good topic. It's a good topic.
Thank you. I'm glad. I was glad to get your opinion. So talk to me about these. Yo, you got me looking at hood call options. The market cap is just so teeny tiny.
Okay, I'm gonna give a quick 3-minute overview for those that don't know.
Here we go.
And then And then Tanner, you can add to this. Me and Tanner are gonna have a podcast tomorrow on this that he'll probably post over the weekend or something. So we'll go more in depth. Here's like a quick, like 1 minute overview to my thesis on Hood right now and why I bought like $4,000 of it today. Number one, ARPU went up, average revenue per user, from $63 to $77 in Q4 of 2022. In a bear market, they're increasing average revenue per user. Number two, MAUs went up 400,000 last quarter. Now, MAUs were going down. MAUs went up last quarter because I think the bearishness is starting to turn bullish. When things go really bullish, the first app that everyone's going to download is Robinhood. It's number 6 on finance in the iOS App Store right now. People who have FOMO because they didn't get into Bitcoin or Tesla when it's 300, 400, they're going to want some shares. They're going to, if they download SoFi first, they're going to hate it because it's going to be a horrible experience unless SoFi figures it out. So they're going to go to Robinhood. When they go to Robinhood, it's going to be so addictive. They're going to keep using Robinhood, and then payment for order flow is going to print a lot of money for Robinhood. Number 3, they are 3 cents away from GAAP profitability. Now, last quarter, they reported a negative EPS of like 56 cents. But 53 of those cents was from a cancellation of a one-time founder stock-based compensation award of $495 million. So if you take out that cancellation, they're actually 3 cents away from profitability. That's my third point. My fourth point is because they got rid of that $500 million founder stock-based compensation thing. They got rid of, they theoretically bought back like 36% of shares. They like stopped dilution by 36% because over the next 5 years, all that stock-based compensation to Vlad and the other guy was going to be a lot of dilution for shareholders. So like they reduced their shares by almost 30%, something like that, because they canceled that over the long term. They had like an Elon Musk sweetheart deal. You know, when Elon in 2019, Tesla hit some targets and he got a shit ton of options. They had that type of a deal. And then in 2022, the market crashed and the board was like, yeah, we're never going to give you this deal. And so they canceled that. And then that was great for ultimately shareholders. Stock-based compensation is going down. It's 26% of revenue, and it's starting to come down as a percentage of revenue, almost decreasing with Palantir's 30% year over year. And then finally, here's the biggest thing. They have cash and cash equivalents of $9.3 billion, and the market cap is $8 billion. Actual cash of $6 billion versus $8 billion on the market cap. So you put all that together, and then here's my overarching point. I've been using the product for 5 years, and I finally want to own a stock of something that I actually use because I don't have any stocks of products I literally use. And Robinhood is just one of those stocks that I'm on most of the day, and I love using it. So you put all that together at this valuation. If it was like 14, 15 bucks, I would say no. I know it was $8 at one point. At $9, today it felt like 5%. That's when I really started buying it. I think it makes sense now.
What do you guys? Who's buying this in the chat? Anybody here in the chat buying this thing?
So I'm not short Hood. It might be a great short-term play. I think this is an awful long-term play. Can I present my screen, Amit? Is that possible?
Yeah. You know how to do it on StreamYard. Yeah.
Okay. So this is the rise in monthly active users that Amit is seeing. This slow tick up from 11.4 million monthly active users to 11.8. And this was back in Q1 before the market really started turning bullish in May and June, right? And that's exciting. And so whenever we actually look, because Robinhood's a very unique stock where they actually release their month over month, all of their statistics. Now let's take a deeper look into their May statistics and April. Okay. Where am I? There we go. We're going to take a look at monthly active users, which is the bread and butter of their entire company, actually dropped 8% month over month to 10.6 million during a very bullish market in May. We do not have June numbers because the month isn't done. Okay?
I wouldn't say May was a really bullish month. It was bullish for some stocks, but I wouldn't say that it was.
But for the S&P 500, it was
because of 5 to 7 stocks.
Okay.
Yeah, because remember, Robinhood, I mean, to Carlos's point, Robinhood thrives off like the Fubos that
exactly.
like these small caps that go to the moon. Like no one's downloading Robinhood to buy Nvidia.
Exactly. That's my point. You know, you go back a year.
You have a point, Carl. You have a point.
Okay.
You definitely have a point.
Shit, sorry, I keep interrupting.
So, I don't know which those like the stocks that you want. I'm sure Tesla's a very large one. Apple, I think, is their most traded stock. I don't think it's too far off of the regular ones. But that being said, their actual monthly active users is what I think of as their bread and butter, right?
Yeah.
And then the next thing that I really dislike is that crypto is having a big shutdown, which is not 1/3 of their transaction-based revenue. I think it's like 1/5 or 1/6, but they are taking down all of their large altcoins, like Solana, for example. And so that is also going to be taking a hit.
Brokerage. I mean, that's everybody. That's not Robin.
I know, but then you don't have to invest in them. You don't have to pick a winner. So if you're picking a stock that's based just on trading, and then a portion of their trading isn't good, why go there?
Well, I think crypto's revenues actually increased last quarter. If I'll check that to make sure.
Sure, but this is for Q2.
Oh, you're talking about Q2. Okay, yes, correct.
Yeah, like they delisted their coins in like I don't even think it was a month ago.
Yeah, I mean, look, all of that can be correct, especially the May numbers, MAUs going down. My thing is, at this valuation, if you give them the next year and a half, and the bull market really comes in. Now, look, I think I'd be wrong about this trade or this investment, whatever you want to call it, over the next couple of years. If
it's a trade,
it could be a trade. Yeah, I mean, I want to see what plays out in the next year and a half. If 2024 is not a bull market, I agree that MAUs, which are the bread and butter, are not going to go up. I think 2024 is going to be decent. And if it's decent, the downloads are going to increase and payment for order flow is going to increase. Gap profitability is going to get there. I think the stock could get to $14-15 reasonably from $9 at this point. So the bearishness thing you show in the MAU decline in May, my argument wouldn't even be Carlos's argument. My argument would just be like, that's 1 month. Let's give it the next couple months and see if that trend continues.
8% month over month.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm not going to decline.
Yeah, but it responds to the market. It responds to the market.
I'd be curious to see June given Nvidia and Palantir's run up. Like, I mean, I'd be
but like to your point, I don't know that those are the companies that are getting people to download a copy of Robinhood. Look at what happens next year, or what happened. This is why I would buy like long leaps, bake it in get them at this valuation, at this price now, and then just hold it while the Fed keeps holding, and then once they pivot and people feel like it's off to the races, or if they start lowering rates and people feel more comfortable investing. Also, 2024, you get, depending on how the election works out, there's a million reasons why the stock could go up. I don't necessarily believe in the company, but there's a million reasons why the stock would go up.
I agree.
So like I said, if it's a short-term play, fine. But in terms
so here's my question. If you have a leap for 2025, is that being long, or is that being, because I said I'm long Robinhood, because a year and a half to me is pretty fucking long.
No, leaps would be the longest ones you could possibly get, like 2024.
Okay, so I'm long with some leaps. Is that okay to say?
You bought one. Okay. You bought a leap, or you just saying
I put in,
because I saw you buy one share as like a joke.
That was a Palantir. That was a that was in the Robinhood.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was wrong.
Yeah, it was on Robinhood.
Long position. Yes,
it was on Robinhood. This is another point by Chris. International expand. I know it's tough to internationally expand because of regulations, but the amount of people in Canada and Spain that hit me up in the DMs are like, bro, I wish I had Robinhood. I see you guys in the United States using it. It looks so sleek. Like, here's the other thing. Vlad is a product genius.
Don't say that, because they're not planning on expanding there right now. It's the UK is where they're planning to actually expand.
I know, but my point is just like,
even that would be really bullish.
They offer a Roth IRA. I don't care what you guys say. I will be doing. Yeah, Chris just mentioned it. I will be doing my IRA on Robinhood. That's just gonna happen, right? And
so that's nothing.
Do they not offer IRAs right now?
No, they do offer IRAs. So here's my argument, and they do a 1% match, which is whatever, but it's pretty cool. If that's happening, there is a generation of people like me that are going to be with this app for the next 20 years because our fucking IRAs are on it. You get what I'm saying? Like, this is the stickiness of the moat that I'm seeing.
You can't transfer a Roth IRA?
You could.
Yeah, but I have. I've moved
people do that. People do that.
You could, but my point is, if you're using it every day, the only qualms I hear people have about Robinhood is like sometimes they don't get the cost basis correctly, and sometimes they charge you a cent or two when you're trading, even though they don't charge you, but the price manipulates.
Well, that's the payment for order flow.
Yeah, and to me, I'm just like, I don't give a fuck. To me, I don't think anyone in my age demographic that is a regular investor actually gives a fuck. And the amount of traders that use it also don't give a fuck because of the convenience of it. And usually when you're trading on other brokerages, sometimes there's fees like what Carlos has to go through. So if that's the case, and they psychologically gamified this platform in such a way, and they had layoffs already, right? So they started getting leaner. The Silicon Valley obsession they have with making this product beautiful, to me, is a moat that can't be denied. I don't think that necessarily impacts to the business in terms of all the numbers you're talking about, Tanner. I think the macro has to be in play. But if you've got a beautiful product with a great macro, which I think is going to happen over the next year, it's a decent trade or a decent 2-year long position.
Yeah, I think 2 years is way too long for Robinhood. Like, if you're
talking about go up and down, you think it'll go up and come back down?
Potentially. I mean, in the short term, with the run that we're having, I mean, you could see like a whole bunch of stocks run up, especially one that benefits from the run. I don't know why I'm being overexposed right now. But that being said, I just think, yeah, dude, Chris, I think you're wrong, man. Those are not products that will lead, like they should be leading to more monthly active users, and they're not.
Bro,
So,
we haven't even seen June's numbers. I
know, but we saw May's numbers, and those did include the Roth IRAs. Those did include, all those other products that Chris is talking about. The 24-hour markets. Why do we think that that's going to change anything that the other products didn't change? So yes, I'm very excited about 24-hour markets. The problem is that other brokerages like the Weebles, the M1s, Public.com, SoFi, Cash App, whatever, can all come out with those products.
Bro, the problem real quick with all those brokerages is they fucking suck. Like they suck, bro. M1's decent, but SoFi sucks. Public sucks. Decent. Yeah, Weeble definitely sucks. Weeble is a good stock screener, but that's it. Like they all suck, Tanner. They suck so badly. So I feel like product is what because when it's a bull market, people are going to stay with a product that matters. And when you download SoFi and Robinhood in 2024.
But what about Cash App, for example, to buy shares?
Cash App sucks too.
But it's cheaper than Robinhood to buy shares.
How does the average person know if it's cheaper than Robinhood?
Well, because they don't charge any commission.
Neither does Robinhood. They psychologically gamify it to the point where you but that's ads, the big point.
No, they do payment for order flow, and that does add to your cost. So,
but if I don't see the cost, as a consumer,
I'm aware, but it is a big political issue, and I think
what do you want? What do you use to buy, Tanner? What's your?
I use a product called Wealth Simple. It's up here in Canada, and then for very specific companies, I use TD.
Okay, Carl, it's a political issue to people who really give a fuck about the market. Those 10 million people, they don't care that much about the market. They just care about buying shares.
I would agree with you if the monthly active users were climbing, but because it's not, and because it's falling down to the lowest point that it's been in the company's history, that cannot be good signs for you guys.
No, we're getting out of a bear market.
That to me, yeah, because we're in a bear market, that to me is exactly why I wouldn't.
That's a simple answer, Tanner. I
would buy a bunch of leads.
Fixate on that point is a little weird. You could give a better argument than that.
May is not a bear market. I disagree. Like you should be seeing that stuff in February or December. We're not.
So how do you explain? How do you explain that in February and December MAU is going up? What's your explanation for that?
Christmas bonuses.
Well, I haven't looked at the actual month over month data, but yeah, it could be anything. But you're buying the stock today. Where is it trending? And the problem is Robinhood came out with such a revolutionary product, and it's not anymore. And so they continue to push the envelope with Roth IRAs and 24-hour trading that continue. They had the longest after-hour trading, and then now that's available almost everywhere. You don't think that other companies will create these Roth IRAs with 1% splits and 24-hour trading and everything, but the people that actually have to spend the R&D is Robinhood.
No, I agree. All that makes sense.
Look at it. That's not the point. I think Amit's point is the people that are using this app. You want a nice, clean interface that makes it really simple to see your buys and sells and make investing fun. Right? I use E-Trade. It's not fun using that app. It's not. The charts are horrible on it. The data's horrible. The grid view, you can't see it. It's not good on a phone. You have to use it on desktop. But it's where all my shit is. What I do like about E-Trade is if I have a problem, I call them up on the phone and I get somebody and they know me. They know me. I get them on the phone and they can fix shit. That is
so Snapchat. Do you buy that, Chris?
What?
No, Snapchat's not a trendsetter. Stories was
the only innovative thing. Snapchat is
Stories is the only innovative thing they've done in 10 years.
No, they had one. Yeah, they had one. They were a product, not a company.
What trends, Tanner? What other trend besides stories?
They did the geomap, the invisible messaging. They did the stories. They did the what was it like? The location pictures matched to the images and stuff that all Facebook, Instagram, all of them have taken.
No, Instagram doesn't have a geomap.
Yeah, they didn't. That didn't really take off.
Instagram does not have a geomap. You can't go on, and I use the geomap on Snapchat a lot. I go to Saudi Arabia when I'm bored and I just want to see what people are doing in Saudi Arabia or Asia or South Africa. Instagram doesn't do that. I wish Instagram did that, but they don't. Look, I want to respond to Douglas. UI can be redesigned at any time. UI is not a mode. I think this is incorrect. The only reason Spotify is relevant is because of their UI. They have figured out how to make their user interface for music discovery so sticky that they're at close to 500 million users.
It is. It's clean.
Now, and I don't like the stock, but like the stock's up.
I think there's a little bit more to Spotify than their UI, but I don't actually think the same can be said for Robinhood.
UI is a big part of it because what else are they offering aside like that's different from Apple? It's the same library.
It's like YouTube Music has great music discovery. Like I know Spotify users they love Spotify, but
lyrics like.
at the end of the day, people like, even before I used YouTube Music, I was using Spotify for 4 years because it was just easy. I loved using it. It was great. Then I realized, why am I paying $10 a month for this and not 12 for YouTube Premium? And so I logically quit it. But the moat is established to the point where they have 500 million people. Robinhood and Spotify is almost a $30 billion company. Robinhood is an $8 billion company. And when the bull market comes, they're going to get a shit ton of users. Those
that's
on
what
the
it
product.
is for me. Honestly, that's what it is for me. We're at whatever, $8 billion market cap. We've already heard from the Fed that we're going to pause, and I don't think they're saying they're going to lower rates anymore. So I'm feeling like the only place that we can go is up from here. And when it happens, it's going to be big. It's going to be worth it to have some call options on it and play that.
But it can't just be big. It's got to be bigger than the the other.
That's why I'm not buying shares. That's why I would do the call options to amplify whatever the gains are. If it goes to 10 or 16 or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why it's hard. That's why it's hard to argue this, because I don't care about the trade. I care about the long-term position. Would I bet against them versus the other fintech options out there like SoFi? And the answer
I agree. I agree on that. Obviously.
Right, and I might not disagree with you with that, but where do I think I could get an easy return from a relatively small amount of capital? It's what's the stock price now?
$9.20.
$9. Do you know what an option on that's going to be? It's like nothing to pick up 100 to control 100 shares, get 10-20 contracts on it, and just forget about it. And
but the thing is, Tanner does no options at all, so that's also why I see what you're saying, Tanner.
Okay. No, but at that price, you can get a really good deal on some options. Buy 20 of these calls, whatever it is, right? And then buy them so far out that by the time you sell, say your point is true, where it runs up in a year, and then a year from now it's going to tank. You still have so much time left on the contract that you could command a premium. You can still get a good premium. $9.45. That's nothing. That's nothing. Yeah. I was looking at Tesla call options. I was looking at Tesla calls today. I was just thinking, like, why don't I just grab 1 or 2 call options? They're like $9,000, but it's 100 shares,
Yeah,
that's why everyone's saying, "Oh, you should have bought options on Tesla versus TFC." Fucking stupid, bro.
Well, when it was 100, that was the move.
Bro.
When it was 100, do you know how
when
much
it was 100? Yeah, but
when it was 100, that would be the move, dude.
Buy your options on Tesla, yeah, because I got fucking $9,000 to get one contract.
Well, it wouldn't have been 9,000 at the time. It wouldn't have been
at 160. It would have been what, 5,000? Like it would have been in May, I guess in May.
Say it was, but you're talking about 100 shares. Like, that's a lot of shares.
If it expires in 2025 and Elon doesn't make anything happen,
dude, if anything, this would be the year, because up until this point, like
you would hope. No,
what I'm saying is, from this point forward, like once Cybertruck is released, we're ending the previous generation of only having 4 vehicles. Now you're talking about they're moving into a completely new space, right? And so it would be the time to buy as they cross over and introduce a new vehicle. That's exactly when you'd want to buy the options about a year out.
Would you buy this option, Carlos?
Tesla
call 610 Jan 20.
Yeah, I would. Oh, but 610. No, but that's a crazy strike price.
That's the only reason you're getting it that cheap, Harry.
That's a crazy strike price. That's almost a 3x from here. So that's $2.4 trillion. I think that's a little rich. So,
versus Robinhood has to like go up to $15-20, it's not.
But I mean, maybe you can sell that option to someone, maybe you can offload it, but I don't see you hitting that strike price.
Okay, so when do you think Robinhood hits $20?
I don't know if it hits 20. I think it is possible by January 2025 for it to be $15. I think that's very reasonable from $9. That's a 70% gain from here,
something like that.
And if you have options, as Carlos says, then
you'll be out of those options long before then. You'll be out of those options long before that.
Which is basically what I'm doing. So I guess I'm long in the context of these options, which a year and a half to me or 2 years is basically pretty long, in my opinion.
Well, typically right before election, especially like a presidential election, like right before, they usually stimulate the economy because you want a strong economy going into election, right? So if nothing else, you've got a couple of just some base catalysts, and we don't know what's going to happen, with the Ukraine war. There's a lot of things that we don't know that are going to happen macroeconomic wise, good or bad. So.
But I agree. SoFi is obviously the long-term play, Tanner. I mean, like that.
Yeah, I just think there's way too many things that I like. You can say everyone's going to run back to Robinhood, but I don't necessarily like.
No, they will.
That's not what the numbers are saying at all.
But
and then I worry, like,
okay, all right. So then, what do you think's going to happen? What do you think?
They're not going to SoFi. Let me tell you that they're not using SoFi.
But they could though.
But they won't.
If SoFi comes out with level,
I'm gonna look you dead in the face. They will not use this fucking app because it sucks so badly. It's so bad. Slide to buy? Are we
easy, Tiger?
What is this?
If SoFi comes out with level 1 options, then why would the people that have SoFi money and SoFi Invest already that don't need to necessarily use Robinhood anymore for those particular products,
right?
Why would they?
Look how much it's gonna lag after it does. Look how much it's gonna lag, bro. This thing lags like this thing lags. Like, I'm like, Noto, what's going on, bro? I love SoFi, but look, it's not even loading.
But
it hasn't even loaded Face ID.
Dude,
he's like, it just crashed my fucking phone.
Yeah, he intentionally turned off his Wi-Fi or someone. No one look at this.
Now it's loading. Now it's loading. It's still loading, bro. The Wi-Fi's fine. I have Verizon 5.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi's fine.
Okay, you got it.
Oh man,
who the fuck is using this?
Dude, yeah, come
and
on.
then what is all this nonsense? They put the news right in front of me, and look at this. Do you see the lag? Do you see this? Like, do you see this? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it looks like an Android app.
I'm not saying that that Robinhood doesn't have better UX UI, but people have to be using it. They've been at 23 million net cumulative
because
accounts.
young people are broke right now, dude. Like they need.
And
to
also they have
They
have $75 billion assets under management. So Tanner,
that's because they offer the highest cash rate, but then people are taking that and they're not buying shares with it.
No.
You have to be buying shares.
So then how do you explain the average revenue per user going up? How do you explain that?
Well,
even if they have lower users, they're getting more money out of them.
Average revenue does not mean average profit. If they bring up their
but getting that,
but they're 3 cents away from profitability. Why is it like your argument is?
I'm aware, but profitability is not the be all end all. They still have to continue to grow from there.
SoFi.
Breaking profitability is not like the ticket into share price heaven.
I agree, but at this valuation, if you're getting them at $8 billion before profitability and before a bull market, I don't see the bear case, bro. I really don't see it.
The bear case is people don't return. Monthly active users going down in May is a problem. You can call it a bear market all you want. It wasn't a bear market. There wasn't 7 positions that rise. The S&P 500 rose, and it was a lot more than 7 positions. So you guys dumb it down to these little examples. But
how much buying did you
do?
How much buying did you do in May?
I buy the same all the way through. I was buying all through the bear market.
You're also comparing.
I'm not the average like the Robinhood investor.
That's my point. You spend money. If the average person doesn't have money to spend, because it's more of a bearish month, or they don't know the market's going up, they don't keep up with the markets, they're not going to use the app. I get it. That case makes sense. But June, July, August, September, October, rates go down to 4% by February 2024. People are going to start fucking trading. It's going to happen.
And you're going to couple that with crypto going away and them not wanting to trade it. And
Bitcoin and Ethereum. Look, I agree with Carlos. Bitcoin's going to the moon. Okay, so if that's going to the moon,
but you know,
people are going to trade that shit. And if that happens, then
dude.
Bitcoin could be great. They made a lot of money on altcoins, and that's going to be going away because they just deactivated delisted all of them. So not all of them. I think it was the 4 biggest ones. But
no, Cardano and Solana, from what I understand.
No, it was the 4 largest ones that they had.
But also, if that affects Robinhood, that affects everybody. So that argument to me is like it's mute, you know.
And also, it's as a percentage of revenue. If you buy something like SoFi and they delist all their crypto, you're not getting hit by 0.1% of the entire revenue.
You don't understand. Your argument is that people like SoFi has all these other businesses outside of payment for order flow and trading. I agree.
You're saying that people are just going to delete the Robinhood app and they're never going to come back. They're never going to invest.
Exactly.
When they do, they're going to use a different app, or they're going to go and start a SoFi. They're going to go get a bank account with SoFi to start trading. It just doesn't.
Trading is not SoFi's business. Trading is Robinhood's business.
That's a feature that they give to people. That's where that SoFi further monetizes someone that's already on the platform.
Correct.
I don't think that's bringing anyone, but like, yo, I'm gonna get on SoFi and start trading.
Bro, I heard Vlad on the earnings call today. They were like, "Are you gonna apply for a bank charter?" And he basically wanted to be like, "Fuck no, I don't want to deal with having a bank."
No, I get that. I wouldn't.
So that's my point. He's like, I don't want to deal with that shit. He said it in a politically correct way because he wants to increase trading.
Yeah, he wants the international expansion. I get that, and that is exciting. But it's like, I would rather bet on other companies that are in similar niches like Cash.
All right, how are we talking about Robinhood this long? I just wanted to just say thank you for
this is good though. This is good.
Call options.
I bought a company called X1 today for, in my opinion, too expensive. They bought like
95 million, bro. That was nothing. It was a couple pennies.
Tiny ass little company with 3,000 followers online. They're small as ever. And they grew during COVID, and then they haven't grown since.
And now they're going to be able to offer gold members credit cards, which is not bad. And they're going to be able to get
very exciting. And I believe that SoFi should have offered it first, but we were slow.
Tesla December strikes at 270s, $15 across the 320.
So what's I think
people are
talking about a spread.
Researching
Talking about a spread.
Yeah, they see that's probably a better play just because it can limit some of the cash, that you got to put down.
That you have to pay up front.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I just think having some Tesla calls, I think we're gonna get it. We're gonna get a little bit of a pullback. I don't know. I don't think Q2 is gonna be as good as people might think. That's just me. I don't feel like I'm seeing the signs that Q2 is going to be good for Tesla. And as you know, if Tesla misses by $1, that the stock goes to $50, $100 the next day, which is fine.
I agree. I think we ended off on what Crossroads says. This is true, man. SoFi and Robinhood aren't really competing, Tanner. Like,
it's not.
I think it's fine to invest in both, to be honest.
It's about if you had money, if you had capital, which one would you invest? And I think a better comparable, for me at least, would be I'd rather buy Cash App than Robinhood. That's actually the company that
you just love $1 billion of stock-based compensation. You love that. That's the
yeah. I mean, way lower than Robinhood's.
Let's compare them. Declining. Square's going up.
Okay, bring up the charts. Let's see who pays more.
I don't have all the charts. I don't have
more stock-based compensation as a percentage of revenue.
We call Steve right now.
Everyone wants to complain. It's less than 10%. It's way better than SoFi's. Way better than Robinhood's.
Bro, I'm not giving my money to Jack Dorsey for him to jerk off to Bitcoin all day at the expense of shareholders. Okay, and that's what you're doing. That is basically.
And if you were to buy common shares, you should buy them on Cash App because there's no payment for order flow and they don't make any money on their actual equity.
All right, this podcast is apparently sponsored by Cash App. Can we change?
No confetti. I need the confetti, Tanner. TJ the Wheel Deal manages like $15 million or some shit, and he uses Robinhood all day, bro. That should let you know how much people love this app, bro. He manages millions, and he's doing it on Robinhood. Yeah, and he's not stupid. He's made a lot of money this year. So
yeah, him and the 23 million other. Oh wait, sorry, 10.6 million. Sorry, my bad.
For the sucker punch there. All right, so I know what to expect on the podcast tomorrow since you invited. He's like, "Hey, you want to talk about Robinhood?" He's like, "I'm gonna fucking tear you apart."
All right, that was round one.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to talk about the. I'm being like carp right now, bro. The title of the pod: Tesla FSD is a scam.
Did anybody?
I'm excited to hear about this.
Yes. Did anybody watch that today? I feel like that flew under the radar because of all of this. This debate stuff that was going on Twitter. But did anybody see that? You want to pull up the video? There's a couple of times. It's a freaking long ass video.
When should I show up? Like,
I mean, somewhere around 3 hours and 3 minutes was a great moment when it pulled up to an intersection with a bunch of people, and you could see Dan O'Dowd hoping that it runs these people over in the intersection. 3 hours and 3 minutes. But then again, that was yeah. So try around there somewhere. I don't know if we're gonna be
3 hours. There's no live stream. I think right here.
No, it would be at the timestamp. 3 hours and 3 minutes.
You sent the timestamp on the.
No, I was watching it. I was watching and I was clicking through.
This is 3 hour 3 minutes right here. The live stream will resume shortly.
Oh, then try to. We're probably not going to be able to because it was still ongoing when I.
Do that on purpose.
Somewhere on it. Did anybody get a chance to watch this today in the chat? Did anybody watch this, or did anybody?
Oh, he was with Gerber. He was with Ross.
Yeah, he was with Ross Gerber. There was actually a little Q&A at the beginning. There was a Q&A at the beginning, and I guess in Gerber's office or whatever it was. And then they went out on a drive, like a 3 hour drive, all through was it Santa Barbara? Really like windy roads and stuff. And I'm not sure. I believe that the car was a loaner, and the idea was to have the car. Do a trip and have no interventions and not crash into anything, right? And then Dan O'Dowd said he would consider that a success. There was a lot of tricky things, a lot of like roundabouts. There was several school buses where it had to stop for the school bus sign.
Basically, it worked. FSD killed it.
It worked. I mean, it worked. There was some stuff that was weird towards the end, and I'm not sure what was going on because there was some points when it would just like the live feed would freeze, like at a point where you're like, why is it freezing right now? Right. Yeah. Bad quality video. So I guess they were recording the feed, and I guess as they were driving around, they weren't pinging.
So did he prove the Dan Dowd guy wrong basically today?
It seemed like they did. Although there was a point where I was watching towards the end where they were going around the block. There was a school bus that was parked. Okay. And it was like letting a bunch of kids out, and it had the sign that said the stop sign. And then in front of them, the road that FSD wanted to go down was closed. So there was a sign that said road closed ahead. So what is the FSD going to do? Is it going to read the sign? Is it going to stop and they kept kind of going around the block to test it. But this is where I said it kept breaking down. And so it was kind of frustrating. But from what I saw, it did what it was supposed to do. I'm really curious to see how this guy spins it. And I'm curious if anybody else watched. I guess a lot of people in the chat are not fans of Russ. Gerber. And I agree. He was not the person to do this with.
No, it's because they're Palantir fans, and he said Palantir's Nazi Germany.
Oh, that's right.
Which you agree with, Carlos, so it's okay. We
That's
get it.
right. Listen, it's like Warren said, evil's fine, but just say it.
Okay, Tanner, let's get your take. What do you consider? How do you conceptualize FSD in relationship to Tesla? When do you think robo taxis come? What are your thoughts on? Because I know you're big in Tesla. You have a big position.
Yeah,
you do have a big position in Tesla.
Yeah, I've had a big position for a very long time, since like 2018, maybe even earlier.
Oh, nice. I just got a lot of, I like you a lot more now. I really do. That's like a mark of intelligence for me.
His SoFi is like 5% of his portfolio. Tesla's like what, 15, 20% or something?
I don't think I've ever said that. So
you haven't said it. Okay. Well, why don't you give us the exclusive right now on Finance Junkies? Let us know how much.
No, I mean, I'm cool to talk about fintech and e-commerce. Anything past that, I don't want to talk about. But as part of my portfolio. That being said, with Tesla FSD, I think I take more of like what Vitaly says all the time of like, there's no way of knowing when it's ever going to come. It could be 10 years away. It could be, yes, they're making improvements, but at what point government's actually going to allow it to drive and it to drive safely?
Well, did you watch our discussion with Warren? He addressed all of these.
I did. I watched the whole thing. Yeah.
Right. So,
I disagree with his timeline, because like you said, he even said 2 years before, and then it came and went.
But what his whole point is that it's a chat GPT moment. Had you have looked at where chatbots were even a year ago, right? Then you'd be like, but they're just dumb as hell. They don't work. And they don't work until one day they can pass a college admissions exam. Yeah, but that's essentially what's happening, because you can see in the release notes the percent improvement on certain things, whatever it's the occupancy network or whatever it is. And you're seeing a 20% increase, 40% increase. The idea is it's compounding. And we just don't know where the threshold is when suddenly it's just like aware, right? But
I 100% agree. But when that timeline is in my opinion, impossible to judge.
Have you driven in a car with FSD?
No.
I have. Listen, I have, and it's pretty impressive what it can already do. So I think if you drive in one, you'll probably feel like it's a lot closer than you may think. It's not going to do everything perfectly, but I don't think you're going to feel like that this is going to stay this way for 5 more years. It's just not possible.
But I'm sure people said that
update after update,
3 years ago. Whenever they were like, have you been in it? It's really, really good.
No, because the complaints, even from the people that have been using it for a while, the complaints and some of what the feature requests or that people were talking about are being addressed, and they're becoming more and more niche. Like Warren was saying in the beginning a few years ago, there was much bigger things that it would get wrong, and now it's more like, I wish it would change. I wish it wasn't as conservative in changing lanes. I wish it was a little more aggressive in changing lanes. But now you're not worried about it running through a cone, for example, or unprotected left or whatever, Right.
So Tanner, what is your price target for Tesla in 2030?
In 2030,
is it a $5 trillion company?
Let me see, because I think I did a video on this before. So I'll stay consistent. Bear with me.
Tavis is also very bullish on Tesla as well.
Very much so.
Kelly says, I experienced for 3 weeks straight. It was not overly impressive to me, sadly.
Yeah, Kelly was with someone over the past 3 weeks using it. So, I mean, it's not perfect, obviously, but you have
to also understand, it's the idea that it is doing this from vision only. This is what I think is different. It is doing this just from vision only. It is driving the same way that we drive, right? So if you ask yourself, like, has anyone here ever taught someone how to drive, right? Like, I've taught people how to drive. The learning curve for a human being learning how to drive at different ages it's a slow curve. And then at a certain point, like, the interventions just stop. The person just gets it. And I feel like we're not taking into account that this is the same as sort of training a person, except there's millions of people. And the more people come online, the more people are feeding this data, the smarter it gets, the better it gets. And this is why I say, the longer it goes, the quicker it's going to become a reality. And
like you said, it's a little bit different though. Like, I don't remember, there was an event that Elon put on a long time ago where they were showing how difficult it is to explain to a robot what, a parked a truck carrying a truck, or a bicycle with some dude with a basket on its head. Like, it doesn't quite understand nearly as easily as us. So I don't necessarily think it can be just compared to teaching a person, because it could take years longer before the actual,
I mean, if you watched what was it, AI Day? If you watched the AI Day, you see the actual improvements you can see the actual improvements that they've done on that. What you're talking about is the labeling system, and then the object detection network, the occupancy network.
Right.
There have been tremendous strides in that. And then like auto labeling, right, where it can actually detect these things that you're talking about. And it's not going to be perfect right now, but you have to understand the way that they're trying to approach this solution. So for example, even if, say, Cruise gets to level 5 in a year, okay, in order for them to roll that out across the entire United States, it's billions of dollars, and it's incredibly expensive to outfit a vehicle with the technology. Plus, you have to have high-res HD maps of the entire United States. That's a massive capex, right? Versus Tesla, where once they get it right, you can drop the car anywhere in the world where it understands what the rules of the road are, and it can just drive. That's the difference of the type of solution. So it's something that, say Cruise or Waymo get to level 4 or 5 first. Being able to expand that is just they're never going to be able to do that in the time that Tesla will, even if they're second to market with it.
No, I completely agree. I just have never taken a guess on FSD because it's never happened in my lifetime as I've been following it. And so really my thesis is the cars are insanely better. They last way longer. The consumer will have to go that way. They can be produced even cheaper than ICE vehicles. And then also the technology on the back end, battery technology. Sorry?
And have that software margin on the sale of it.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. You're selling a smartphone now instead of a old, phone. Not only is the product way better, but then there's internal sales as well. The energy market's unbelievable. What they're doing with the gigapacks the megapacks is unbelievable. And
let me ask you guys a question. Would you let your mom or your wife or someone you really care about, Carlos, let's say your daughter when she's 4 or 5 years old, get into a car that has no driver and just hope in 2030 that the car is not going to have any accidents? There's going to be no other drunk drivers. It's going to stop at everything. The AI is going to be so advanced. Like, do you realistically feel you would just do that? Not for yourself, for a loved one. Call them a Tesla Uber and let them just drive into the sunset with no driver. Because I can't see myself
right now.
letting my mom
No, he said
in 2030. In 2030.
Yeah. 100%.
Even when FSD is amazing.
Yeah, but you're talking about 7 years out. It's really hard to predict because, again, we're thinking linearly. It's really hard to predict.
I'm going to give you the exponential growth curve in terms of it's amazing. I'm giving that to you right now. Would you still do it?
It's hard for me to say yes or no to
that.
Your
answer should be yes to that, though. Your answer should be yes. No, because if you're not adopting it, how's the rest of the world going to adopt it?
Because it's hard for me at this point now to imagine what that's like, what that world actually looks like. Because here, to your point, there's a big difference if it's like one Tesla FSD car on the road versus among other human beings driving versus, say, a certain percentage of the cars on the road are all.
I want you to assume the best circumstances.
I
want you to assume everything that you need to.
It's a really difficult question, but I mean.
I want you to assume everything goes perfect, better than perfect. Would you still allow
at some point, yes, I can see people doing
that. No, we got to stick on this. That's very weird to me, Carlos, as a shareholder, because I thought your answer would be like Tanner, which is like, of course, like it's great.
No, but
100%. I don't get why you're hesitating on that.
Because as a parent, I'm just going to be way conservative.
So why would other parents let their kids do it too, or their parents, or their daughters?
Carlos, are you not like, because I'll put my girlfriend in an Uber from time to time, and personally, just for me,
you're on that app. You're watching that.
I'm less worried about the a car accident than I do the driver. I'm so worried about like weirdos more than anything.
What do you mean weirdos? Like hitting on her?
No. Just like I watch too many of these crime shows online, and I just think like she's gonna get kidnapped or something. Like I'm just scared all the time. And so, but with FSD, it's like, dude, if I could. Hold
on, Tanner. Your argument is to replace the weirdo that potentially will kidnap your girlfriend, you'd
would
rather have a
alleviate
car
that would alleviate more of his concern than the
than a
vehicle
car
that
that that a drunk driver could crash into because the FSD fails.
Not a car that a drunk driver can crash into. A car that has the same human ability with a faster response time, just because your brain to your hands is a lot longer than what the actual Tesla vehicle can do.
Look, people are hardwired differently, and I'm the guy where if the plane's going down, right, I want to be the guy with my hands on the steering wheel. That's just the way that I am, right? If the plane's going down, I want to be the guy holding the wheel, getting us there. I believe that if I have to, I can figure out how to land this thing and keep us safe, right? I want to be that guy. Some people don't want to be that guy.
But we're not comparing. We're comparing an Uber versus a Tesla FSD.
All women worry about this. It's true. And all dudes that care about their women worry about their women in cars, whether it's self-driving or not. You just there's its need to protect. And so no, just because I'm bullish on the company, it doesn't mean I'm going to trust. I'm going to automatically
Carlos, just multiply yourself across millions of other Americans that are like, there's no way I'm letting my 80-year-old mom go to the grocery store in some driverless car.
What
percentage? Don't you think that's a roadblock?
But what percentage of the drives do you think are going to be people putting their babies in a Model X to go to daycare by themselves? Like,
I don't think that. I mean, like, even let's say my mom. Let's say I live in California and my mom's coming to visit me.
Yeah, I agree with Joshua. Joshua's got a good point. It's like you have to compare against like, yes, can someone just T-bone a Tesla? Like, absolutely. But it's what is in your driving defense capabilities versus a Tesla's, and you're already seeing them. Like, if someone's swerving into a lane, they'll just stick more onto the left side of the lane to just be a little bit more defensive.
Conservative, yeah.
So Carlos, if your mom's at the airport and you want to send an Uber FSD thing to pick her up, you're gonna let her get into a faceless car and let her drive home to pick. Let's say it's a 20-minute drive. This is your mom. This is not your daughter. She's at the airport.
Okay,
but Carlos, it's not.
By the way, before you answer, Farzad used this example about the airport on our podcast.
But it's not apples to apples. Imagine the taxi is 50% cheaper.
No, I'm not talking about cost. I'm just talking about, would you feel comfortable?
Well, I'm just saying it is.
And before you answer, Carlos, before you answer, two things. This is your mom at the airport, 20 minutes away, 2030. Second thing, remember this before you answer the question. Take the best possible assumptions you can imagine and 10x those assumptions. And that's the world we live in.
Right.
Would you let your mom get into that Tesla Uber and
what
come
you're
home
trying to do? What you're trying to do is box me in with an emotional argument, emotional response. And
okay, let's say it's your best friend. It's not your mom. It's your best friend.
My best friend,
it's a master debater.
Like if it's you, if it's you,
call Anthony right now, bro. I'm calling Anthony.
No, but Anthony's my brother. That's different. If it's you, yeah, I'm gonna put you in the Uber. I'm gonna put you in the Tesla Uber.
You let me drive the Uber over your mom.
Yeah, I would. I'd be like,
yo, look at Hail the Great.
I'd be like, good luck.
Do you see my point? Do you see my point? The hesitation. The hesitation is real, right?
But it's not because I'm not confident in FSD. It's because
why wouldn't you let her get in the car?
I'm overly protective with my friends, my family, and then my kid. Are you kidding me? You
don't think other people are overly protected? I'm overly protected. I wouldn't want my girlfriend or my mom to be in some random car with no driver. Like, like I feel like that's a sentiment that's going to be around a lot of people.
Here's what you're missing. Here's what you're missing. Before any of those trips would happen, I personally would have to have that experience myself. I personally would have to take it and go to the gym and go to the supermarket and do these short trips and keep expanding out and test it myself. I would also have to see tons of data, right? I have to see the actual data on this and get other anecdotal experience from people, whether it's on Twitter, YouTube, or
let's say you have the best data in the world. Let's say you did it 1,000 times. I'm giving you every best assumption. I still don't get why you won't let someone you love.
If it gets to that point and you're saying it checks all of my boxes, and of course, then yes, at a certain point, absolutely. Because at that point, what you're saying is I have the data that's telling me that this is, say, 1,000 times safer than any other human being, including myself. I mean, look, part of the reason I got a Tesla for my wife is for the safety. I just said to myself, I'm having my first kid. Like, how can I, in good conscience, put them in anything but the safest vehicle, right? So that this way,
but then why
other asshole crashes into them? I need them to have the best possible chance of survival.
But then if you're looking at a statistics match, why do you need it to be 1,000 times safer? Why can't it be 2 times safer?
Because because there are drivers that are 1,000 times worse.
But that's, you know what I mean?
No, Carlos, here's my point.
That's factored into the statistics. The second it's second it's safer, I'm going to trust it. Like, I'm just that, like.
Let me make this point, and Carlos, I want to get your response here. We went through this entire discussion
Yeah.
Carlos, you have just literally explicitly said it needs to be 1,000 times safer.
Well,
now, here's
a random number. I'm just throwing out a random number.
Or 50 times, whatever. Now, here's the big question. Given all the hesitation we went through, just for you to finally give us a hypothetical number where you would feel comfortable, do you think that's going to happen by 2030? Because 1,000 times safer, I don't think that's happening by 2035, to be honest.
No, I mean, you have to understand the March of Nines is crazy. It's already safer than a human being right now. It's
I disagree with that.
It's now getting
safer. It's
MKBHD disagrees with that.
It's certain. Ross Gerber broke it down as like it's safer than 70-plus-year-olds and 16-year-olds or something like this. It's ridiculous. So
listen, that's a really hard metric to quantify. It's more about how many miles driven, how many accidents per mile. That's what it comes down to, right?
And this is a good question. Factor in. You also have to
what are your guys' answer to this question? If you had a 16-year-old daughter going to a prom, would you trust a Tesla FSD or a 17-year-old?
I love how you added going to a prom. Like, I don't even see the word.
I've just assumed prom.
He's just gotta. What? Okay. Here's the question: would you let your 16-year-old daughter in a car driven by a 17-year-old boy or Tesla FSD?
Let's get Tanner go first. Tanner, which one would you pick?
Oh, in 2030 or right now?
In 2030.
FSD.
Carlos, what do you pick?
I would pick the 17-year-old boy because I can threaten.
Me too.
Because I can threaten his ass.
Oh no, that's not why I would. I would pick it because I actually trust the guy more than FSD.
No. I mean, in that case, yeah.
John, not like
17-year-old. I'm sorry. How good were you as a driver at 17 years old? Most people, I mean, if unless you're like in New York, you don't even get your license. You don't even get your license that soon. I didn't get my license until I was 21 because it just didn't have any need. But I don't trust a 17-year-old. Are you kidding me? 17-year-old boy. Like with a chick in the car? No way. I was 21 years old once and I'm driving my Camaro.
I was gonna say something terrible.
And like,
let's say he's a responsible boy. They've been dating for 5 years or something like that. You still don't.
So they were dating since they were 12.
I mean, I don't know.
Where is this conversation going, dude? You're just trying to. Where are you going with this?
I don't know, bro. No, I get your point. It's just I was thinking about it today. I'm like, bro, I would be so hesitant, just like you, to let a loved one get into this faceless car. And maybe that's because I haven't seen the exponential growth, and like my mind will change then.
You have to understand by 7 years from now, this is not going to even be a question. Like we're going to have this answer 2.5, 3 years from now. Who just posted?
Yeah, that's what I mean. So tack on another 5 years.
So 7, but that's what I'm saying. But he's making it seem like we're going to be on some weird cusp in 7 years. What you're saying is like 3 or 4 years after FSD is ubiquitous, are you going to let your mother get in the car? I'm like, most people are going to be in some sort of self-driving vehicle by that point. So it's a stupid question.
Which increases
the best question. We're going to be wearing Vision Pro.
Right. Where are you going to drive anywhere? We're all going to be in the metaverse. Would you let an Uber driver take your kids or mom somewhere? Yeah, absolutely. I've had my mom.
Why do we trust Ubers more than FSD? I guess it's just recency bias or something.
Well, right? Because you can see the person. There's there's a level of accountability. Like if someone gets in a random taxi cab, I have no way. We coming from that world. I already let my mother take a cab. I have no idea when she's in the cab. I can't see it on an app. I don't have the guy's license plate or his picture or a rating to know how good of a driver he is. Right. So you have an Uber app with all of this stuff, and I can see it on an app. Of course. It's way better than a taxi.
Yeah, but what is going to call you if it gets into a fender bender or can no longer continue the drive first? The Uber driver or the Tesla?
The Tesla.
Yeah, clearly.
Immediately.
So what do you mean accountability? The Tesla
I'm saying to a taxi cab, dude. To a taxi cab. If you're in New York City, take a taxi cab. These guys are nuts.
No, I get that.
Hey, don't speak about my brother-in like that.
There's a lot of bad drivers.
Huh?
I said I don't know how many Ubers you take, but there's a lot of bad drivers.
There's a lot of bad drivers, and typically their ratings will reflect that.
No.
Why? Who's giving? So there's no incentive to give an Uber driver a great rating if they're a shitty driver.
That's facts.
No, but
what's the incentive?
A lot of the time it's just very conservative drivers that take their time, that get 5-star ratings, but it's like they don't care about
that's bad. You're saying that's bad. That's a bad driver to you.
Well, no. I'm not saying that's a bad driver, but I'm just saying ratings does not affect like how good the actual ride is going to be.
Okay, so what do you rate? What do you rate that person who drove a little slower than you would expect, but they followed all the rules?
I've never given anything.
Shut up! They didn't yap your ear off. It didn't smell bad, and they had like
I've never given anything other than a 5-star anyway. I either just get out of the car or I rate them. But
most of my rides are 5 stars. But if there's someone that's particularly bad, yeah, I'll give them a 2 or a 3 or a 1. I actually rate it honestly because that's what the purpose of that is. You have to contribute that with honest ratings.
That's fair. That's fair. I dropped a drink once in an Uber, and that motherfucker rated me a
Oh
one.
yeah, I had an ex-girlfriend. She was horrible. Like she was kind of a bitch, and she got my rating. She got me a hit on my rating because she was just so nasty, and I would be like, "Why are you?" Oh man, that was
one time my ex started fighting with me in Uber, bro, and we was in the Uber pool. What do you say, Tanner?
5 stars if you speed. If you get me there with a little bit of urgency, 5 stars.
Yeah, I got.
Yes. If you're on the way to the airport, and I've had this too. I had this when I was in Canada. Actually, I was in Canada, and I was coming back, and we were late to get to the airport, and the guy was driving the speed limit, and I'm like, dude, we really we gotta get there, blow through a yellow on. Yeah.
All right. When you get to a yellow, do you speed up or do you slow down?
I have a plaid. What do you think?
Yeah, and also that's like that. That's such a weird question. How far back am I?
Yeah, how far back are you?
The road?
No, bro, you're so analytical, bro. Just answer the question. It's a metaphor for life. Do you go for it or do you get conservative?
Sometimes I slow down, sometimes I speed up.
Depends on how far. Depends on how far away I am.
Sometimes you got to do both.
Yeah, sometimes it depends on how far away I am, and if my daughter's in the car, I am a grandfather. I'm like,
you know what I do? You know what I do?
The girl says no. Amit speeds up.
No.
It's like
no, and he goes,
like
well, you know what? In life, sometimes you got to grab it, and then
all right, bro, you took it to a weird level. No, that's not what happens. I was actually gonna say what I was actually gonna say.
Like that scene in Fight Club, he does that whole like.
What I was actually gonna say is I slow the fuck down because senior year of high school, I ran one of those yellow turning into reds, and I was literally, bro. When I mean I was in centimeters away from a crash because I mistimed it, and I survived. And I opened my eyes and I was still driving and nothing had happened. I was like, I'm never speeding up in front of a yellow light again. So I slowed down. That's what I was.
That's real. I had a moment. Listen, I had a moment. I pulled off of a highway, right, and I was waiting at the light, and I had to make an immediate left and go under an overpass, which is where the highway was, right. And there's a bunch of cars next to me, and so the light turned green, and I had this moment where it was like, just don't go, like don't go. And I waited an extra 1 or 2 seconds, and out of nowhere, this like Ram 1500 comes flying through the intersection.
Yep.
And had I have moved, I'm telling you, had I have moved, that would have hit me on my side. It would have killed me. It would have killed me. And the fact that I avoided that accident, it does make me a little gun.
It makes you hesitant to speed up, right?
Because you realize like there is a certain social contract that we all have when we drive. That's like I'm not gonna hit anybody. I'm confident that I'm not gonna hit anybody. But moments like that make you realize that like not everybody subscribes to that contract. You know, that
bro, isn't it crazy? We
get taken out by somebody.
We drive these like fucking 700-pound vehicles at 70 miles an hour on the road.
They're like,
how many pounds is it?
They're like thousands of pounds.
500.
I was gonna say 2 tons, but I thought that's like a truck.
No, 2 tons is 4,000 pounds. Most of
that's more like a Tesla.
And that's another thing to consider. In an EV is heavier, so usually the heavier vehicle wins, right? Usually
it's mainly the reason why the Model Y got the 5-star rating was because of the rollover test, and it couldn't roll over because of the weight and the that was.
Well, that's more center of gravity. Fuddbucker's like.
Bro, I was gonna say 1 pound, but I didn't want to be like, oh,
this guy's
like crazy. This is why I don't do anything with my hands. I'm so bad with cars. I don't know what shit. But the point is, we're driving these things on roads at 70 miles an hour like it's nothing. And it's like, it is kind of crazy. And that's where I see Elon's point of like, we should probably have computers do this shit.
Chris Patel says we need connected cars. The more FSD cars that are out there, the higher likelihood we actually do have connected cars. You know what I mean? Yeah. They can literally just follow each other in great precision. And then I wonder if in 2040 or something, that every road or every vehicle on the road, just like by design, you have to have FSD. Like that will get to a point where like the same way seatbelts was optional at one point, it will be forced just because of the safety reasons. And then at that point, like what happens to speed limits? What happens to red lights? What happens to all these things that were designed for human error, not robot error?
I think that you'll see lanes. I think you'll see different speed limits in different lanes. Somebody proposed this in New Mexico that it was like 85 or 90 in the left lane, and you get 10 miles an hour slower as you get closer to the exits. What was that comment you put up there?
Battery life.
Battery fires.
A battery fire.
I mean, not every crash leads to a battery fire. Just in the same way as an ICE vehicle. Not every crash means that the engine explodes. You know. there's actually systems. Like if you have a nice vehicle and you crash, there's things that cut off the fuel, right? That cut off the fuel line to
Dude, Michael, you said your point. Network effects, man. It's just
what in
the word
terms of
you're looking
crashing?
for is network effects. FSD has network effects. Network effects. All right, man. I read you the first time.
All right, Carlos, I know you got to go. Carlos has a date tonight. So
Yeah.
Carlos has got to get out of here. Tanner's on Twitter. Thank you, Tanner, for engaging us with us this evening and filling in for Vitaly and Chris. Carlos also, I'm putting his Twitter in the chat. Please make sure to follow Carlos. Carlos is getting close to 1,000. He's at 816. So we're about.
I did get a bunch of subs today, like non-finance related as a result of this thing. But yeah, join the conversation. Me and Brad have been going at it. He's still talking shit here in the chat. I see you, Brad. He said something about, what did he say? He said
he's actually 10 minutes behind, so that's why he's commenting.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, all right.
We'll continue the conversation on Twitter. So please follow Tanner. Tanner, thank you again for Tanner. Thank you again for being here. I'm going to be doing a podcast with Tanner tomorrow, and that'll be posted later, and we'll extend the Robinhood SoFi discussion.
Yeah.
And yeah, FSD emotions with who you love. I mean, it's a good discussion. I'm glad we had it. And, we'll
circling back, you just be a man. Amit, like man, cojones.
Be a man. What movie is that from?
We need more strong men. Weak men are actually a real problem in today's society. We need some strong men.
Hey, I fixed the vacuum. I fixed the Dyson.
All right, there you go.
I fixed the fucking Dyson.
I'm gonna start taking shirtless pictures.
We'll start there.
I'm gonna start taking shirtless pictures, and so people stop calling us weak. I don't want to do my own like.
I wasn't talking to you. Don't get all.
Well, no, but I agree with him though. I agree with him. I don't need to do all this own physical labor, cut my own grass. I get some.
No, but how does that go? How did that go? How did that go? There's this that I'm probably gonna get this wrong, but it's strong. Good times. Good
Russell
times.
Peters. Russell Peters said it.
Yes, good times create weak men. Weak men create bad times. Bad times create strong men, and strong men create good times. It's this.
Look, Carlos is right. When I've done something with my hands, I feel like a fucking man. So he's right about the feeling. I just suck at it, so I don't do it as much. But he's right. The dopamine is great when you actually mow the lawn correctly, you know? So.
No.
All right, on that note.
No. All right, thank you everybody for joining. We're done with the work week. We'll be back on Sunday on the new channel. It's in the description. We'll see you there Sunday, 10 p.m. Thank you guys.
All right, bye.
All right, Chris, we're playing chess. Bye.
All right.